pretty early still. I think we're still getting in shape, still working on the fundamental side of the game. We've got 20-something odd freshmen this year with a large number of those guys that are expected to contribute, with about the same number of returning players. And so it's still a lot of teaching and learning to this point right now. We'll reset our schedule over the course of the next couple of days and start preparing for game week come Saturday of this upcoming week. And so for us, it's really just getting ready to, build on what we did in the fall and what we're doing now just to get prepared for our first games right around the corner.
And then looking ahead to your first games, you have Embry-Riddle and St. Leo. Like normal, not an easy schedule right out of the gate.
Yeah.
What do you know about those two opponents?
So both of them are a little bit different but pretty similar. They both like to play a fast style of pace of lacrosse, which fits in well with us. I do know that St. Leo returns a good number of really talented players. They played in the national tournament and made it to the national championship actually in 2018. So they've got some returning players that should be pretty good. And then Embry and Riddle, still early on in their program's existence, but they do have a talented attack group returning. Something crazy like almost 150 of their points were scored last year through their attack that are all returning. So obviously we've got to prepare to be defensively sound. And then for us, talking about last year, not necessarily a positive year, but we need to score more goals. And so for us, moving forward, the offense has really been a focus for us, so that way we can continue to work on the things that are going to, give us the chance to win the games besides just playing good defense.
Questions?
Yeah, you said last year wasn't necessarily a positive year for you guys. As a coach, how are you approaching this season differently?
I think that we really just hit the reset button, and we've allowed the leaders to take heed and go. Rich to my right here and Deandre to my left are both seniors, although Dick has only played, this will be his first year playing. The seniors have really taken this team and grabbed it. It started in the fall. They don't want to finish the season the way we finished last year. They don't want to have the same type of season we had last year. And so they've done a really good job of really managing it and building it. As part of the reason why I brought them here with us today, because I think that they would be better suited to kind of answer that question than I. From the coaching perspective, we really just bought into hitting the reset button and holding guys to accountability on the finest of details, which is something I think we got pretty much away from last year. We were a little bit more complacent last season than we were in 2018, and so focusing back on those details and having these guys emerge as new leaders, I think will be good for us.
Do you guys want to kind of speak on that? Eight seniors on the team this year, is that the total number?
Yep.
How do you guys see your roles kind of playing out this year? You guys are missing 3 of the top 5 scorers from last year, so obviously people got to step up. In terms of the older guys, how do you see that kind of playing in? What have you have done so far this offseason kind of compared to that?
So starting in the fall, I think we did a great job as a senior group getting all the young guys on board. We get a lot of them. I think it's awesome that we've seen some of the hardest work in my 4 years come out of the youngest guys, and that just goes top down, bottom up. And I really think we get a good group of guys that are equipped to lead and done a great job leading. And I think we're going to lead that into the rest of the season, carry that through.
So like Coach said, my position's kind of unique because it's kind of my first year back. So I had to play catch up for the fall and then decide whether or not I could be a leader, and I think I'm starting to step into that role. And like Deandre said, I've never seen a freshman class step up quite as much as our class has. But that being said, our returners are also quite talented and fitting in well with this freshman class. So, our goal right now is just to mesh as much as possible and create that just teamwork and knowing how each other play and getting the most out of every possession, defensively and offensively, to make sure we have the best days possible.
Do you guys have a saying, or if you can sum up exactly what the mindset is going into the season, like in 5 or less words, how would you guys describe that?
Probably our team saying just stay in the boat. Just do rolling with that and just staying in the boat, which is a metaphor for our team. And everyone's buying in, everyone's going to keep staying bought in.
And I'd probably add win the day. is another thing. Again, I think we started focusing on having success in 2018, got our whole program from the athletic department down to start thinking about national success, and we really got away from that, and we stopped winning every single day. And that's something that we really are priding ourselves on, especially this spring, is win every day of practice. Because if we can win every day of practice and we can look on our cork board where it has every day listed, and we can look at more W's than L's, there's a better chance of us going into the game winning, because we're going to have thought about that on a daily basis. So that's what I would add to that.
How much does it affect team chemistry when you have a freshman class like you guys have been complimenting since this time, being as hardworking as they have been?
I don't think it necessarily affects team chemistry. It may make that freshman group a little tighter compared to the rest of us, so we have to work harder to understand and be able to play well with them. But if anything, it's a positive thing.
What are they doing specifically that makes them a harder working freshman class than the others?
I mean, nothing specific. They just aren't afraid to step up to the ball and play and do their jobs.
I think it's some of the intangibles that is what I've seen from them. I mean, for us, it's a little thing, picking up the lacrosse balls. And the past two classes have kind of scoffed at it, and this class has been phenomenal with it. And that's a little thing that, again, I think if we can harp on that, is going to build into larger things, right? I mean, you guys are thinking lacrosse balls, really, that really matters. Yeah, we want all of the lacrosse balls that are supposed to be in that bucket every single day. And if that means you've got to cross 12th when practice is over to go get the one out of Albertson's parking lot, we're going to do it, because, it's about focusing on that finite detail, and getting these guys to realize that that's going to also improve them overall in life as they move forward as well, when they get into the workforce and when they become husbands and fathers, etc.
Did your recruiting tactics change after last season at all?
No, not really. I think we really just took the approach of that we wanted to find the kid that wanted to work the hardest, and I don't think it was a major change, because quite frankly, the class was already committed by the time we stunk in the spring, and so you had already kind of brought in those kids. What I think we did is I think we, again, had really great leadership from the upperclassmen. Getting on the bus at the end of last season and it being the first time that these guys have cried, coming back from a RMAC game, was eye-opening, I think, to him as a senior, and to Jacob Yordi as a rising junior for this season, and Johnny Carey as a senior, and Joe Wolfers as a senior. And those guys, I think, really looked at it and said, you know what, it can't end like this again, and it's got to be better. And I think that that's really where that stemmed from, is these seniors showing them that this is the way that it needs to be. Not to say the 19 seniors didn't do a good job, because they did a good job in their own right, but these guys, I think, have just taken it on as a collective, uniformed approach from them top down, from just captain's practices, which is all led by them. Organizing 30, 40 guys to come out and do that is something I've never seen here, or heard about rather, as a coach, meaning, okay, the guys got together and they had 40 out of the 50 guys there. That's a pretty strong number. In the weight room, running, those types of things. And I think that the leadership from the seniors has led to those freshmen really seeing this is how we need to do it, and this is how we will do it. I think it's really kind of changed dramatically how, from a peer-to-peer freshman to freshman level, they've looked at it. If the Eichelman twins are going to win every single sprint, they're going to get tired of hearing about the Eichelman twins, and they're going to try to win the next sprint. And again, that's a senior push towards freshmen, and then freshmen also pushing in the opposite direction.
In terms of teams like Westminster, who you guys had a problem with last year, they're picked #1 preseason polls, first time you guys are kind of looking like from the bottom up. Has that affected the mindset in the offseason? That actually, like you just said, the tears on the bus last year for you guys. What specifically has stood out the most, and what has changed the mindset from last year this year moving forward?
So that wouldn't be a question for me, but
I think really thinking about last year, we tended to look ahead too far, not looking at, as Coach said, winning the practice or winning that day. We look ahead to Westminster when we were 3 weeks away. We look ahead to other games when we weren't there yet. I think this year that really doesn't change. I think we're going to just keep winning each day until we get to that point. And when that point comes, we're going to win that day.
From a coach's perspective, I think it's pretty nice. You know, I mean, obviously, we developed a certain type of target that we wore by being so talented within the RMAC and having so much success. So I think it's kind of nice to turn around and say, you know what, now there should be a ton of hunger. And it's crazy the way the season's shaping up is there's a chance that we could play them and have to beat them in 3 consecutive weeks to win an RMAC regular season, to win an RMAC title, as far as a tournament title goes, as well as possibly making something bigger if we're fortunate enough to do that. But the other thing that I'm not going to underscore also is that CSU Pueblo has played us tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter every time out. Adams State has always played us tough. It's kind of their blue-collar approach. So there's some talented teams in the RMAC that, you know, if they did a good job recruiting as well this past summer, then it's going to develop into more competitive games for all of us collectively across the RMAC slate.
Conference is growing, it's getting more competitive. You guys kind of got a jump start on everybody now. Everybody's kind of like, okay, let's start picking up and see where it's going. Now you guys are, you know, second place this year. So
Yeah.
not to say you guys are on the same playing field, but it's more even.
Absolutely.
Than it has been in years.
Absolutely, and I think that that's a good thing for the growth of lacrosse in the West as well as growth of lacrosse within the RMAC. Obviously, we'd love to see more teams join, but part of that also is bringing the basement of the conference up higher. And I think that that's what we've been noticing the past couple of years as we've been moving forward now into the 5th season of the RMAC play.
Sweet. Question of the week. Start with you, Deandre, and everybody gets to answer this. What's the worst movie you've ever seen?
Ooh. It's not going to be a popular answer, but any of the high school musicals.
Is there a reason in particular why you don't like them?
I can do musicals, I can do movies and stuff like that, but I just really can't swing that. I don't know why.
It's all right.
Okay.
It's just a feel.
Yeah.
Coach?
Probably the Naked Gun series from the 1990s. I mean, I look back and they were great then, but now when I watch them, I'm like, holy cow, these are terrible. But yeah, that's the answer.
All right.
It was this movie I saw a couple years ago that came out called Monster Trucks. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's awful. It's absolutely terrible.
Is it about monster trucks?
It's about monsters that control trucks, and it should have never been in theaters. So yeah,